Auditor Galloway will also be giving a presentation on the real estate revaluation during that public hearing. So that'll be coming up next week, Thursday morning.
Thank you. Well, then I would just add for purposes of new business that in addition to Mr. Boyd's work on a comprehensive jail presentation, and hopefully in the near future we'll get a longer update, kind of cradle to grave, on where the project is at and where it's going, I've asked him to start work on a sort of state of the county address so that we can really give perspective on where we are budgetarily, so that as we go into the next budget cycle, as we plan for the jail, as we plan for all the other major projects the county is going to be engaged in over the next 5-10 year period, we have some perspective, particularly for department heads and employees who want to know where the county's at, where are our challenges, what's going right. I think it'll be helpful for everyone to be on the same page, and I know that we're grateful to Mr. Boyd for his hard work. So he's been in presentation mode lately, and that will continue because the county is kind of at a pivotal moment where we're making some very large decisions on the jail and budgetarily, and it's important that the public and that all of our stakeholders understand those issues. So many thanks to Jason for his hard work. Any other new business before us?
Mr. President, just one comment. Where gentlemen were referring to the police and fire versus the PDRS. I do stand by the $1.2 million impact. That may not sound like a great deal of money given our budget, but that is significant. You are correct that the pension board did vote, but the House did not take it up. It basically gave us a 1-year reprieve. So we do need to be aware that that is a potential $1.2 million impact that we would be required to put out. So just to allay your concerns, I appreciate you doing the research on that. I think it's a great deal. And we have engaged members of the public looking at those things. So thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And also to the gentleman from Willowick, I would add, ultimately, every city decides what costs they're going to pass through from the Euclid sewer treatment plant. And so you're going to see differences from city to city. I know that Willoughby Hills, Willowick, and Wickliffe are their major customers in Lake County. And every city has a different approach somewhat. Sometimes they pass on the entire amount of the increase, sometimes they pass on some of it. I think that Wickliffe has just passed on the entire increase off the top of my head. I know that Willowick has passed on most, but not all of it. And so each city council and mayor has the flexibility to decide, does the city eat some of the cost or pass it all on to the residents? But ultimately understand, the residents are paying for it one way or another, 6 of one, half a dozen for the other. Either you're paying for it directly on your water sewer bill, or you're going to pay for it through your income and property tax, because city money is obviously your taxpayer money. With respect to the consent decree, Euclid had to do a very substantial upgrade to their plant, and they've basically passed that cost on to all of their users, including Western Lake County communities. It is incredibly expensive to change from one provider to the other because you have to build new infrastructure. So it's not as simple as saying AT&T raised their price, I'm going to Verizon. You actually have to build new lines for your water sewer that connects you to different plants, and that is millions and millions of dollars, and in most cases are cost prohibitive. So to some extent, Euclid knows they have a captive audience, which has put communities like yours and Willowick and mine and Willoughby Hills in a very tough spot, because the cost to switch to a different provider would be so much money, and the savings may or may not justify that switch over the long term. So it's a difficult position that Western Lake County communities are put in, largely because Euclid knows they have a monopoly with the customers that are already tied directly into them. And ultimately your city has to decide, do we pass that cost directly on to the user, or do we subsidize it from all taxpayers to some extent? And I'm not here to tell you what the right or wrong answer is, but one way or the other, you are paying Euclid for those higher costs. Any further new business? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.